How's she doing?
11th of November, Rabbi First, Pirkei Avos. Shem, something went wrong with my account, and I hope I can fix it. But otherwise, I might have to give you links every day till I get it fixed up. So check your email each morning, please.
Okay. Okay.
Sorry, I got the message late. I apologize.
Well, we're just getting starting. Don't worry. We didn't even put it on the screen yet. Let me put this on the screen, and it'll be all set. Oh, disable part. Okay. Louis, if you can, let me do the screen sharing or something like that.
Oh, let's see.
If you press on participants, and then if you go to my name, you might, and then there's a thing called more. It sometimes gives you a option of doing something here. But if not, or if you want, you could just make me the host, and that'll give me the option also. If you go to participants, press on the little two people there. You got the two participant icons, and you press on that. You'll get on the left-hand side of the, on the right-hand side of the web page. You'll see their list of the participants. Oh, I'm the host now. Thank you. That worked out.
You're welcome.
Okay. Oh, here we are. So again, good morning. This is Rabbi Shlomo First here, Yeshiva Samanafshi here in Yerushalayim Kiryat Zoom. We are in our first share in the morning. This is an explanation of the possibilities of keeping Hanukkah 9 days, believe it or not. So we're going to see if it's believable or not. Again, the question was asked by the Bala Itim, recorded by the Abu Rudram almost 900 years ago, as to why don't we keep 2 days extra, second day extra of Hanukkah, as we do by second day Yom Tov in Kutz La'aretz. And the basic answer that was given was that the Rabbanan, even though you might seem to think it's a suffix, the Rabbanan L'Hakil, seems to be a little bit more complicated answer than that, in which that's going to be actually discussed. But the point being that that Chazal said we're supposed to keep 8 days and only 8 days, and they also said to us when the new moon is going to be. So according to both of their statements, Hema Amru v'Hema Amru, there's no suffix here. So since there's no suffix, it's not a question of having to keep an extra day because of the suffix, as we do in second day Pesach and Shavuos and Sukkot. But here there's no suffix whatsoever, apparently. So that's what we're in the middle of. And the Birchei Yosef, the Hidah, is going to ask on this because there are some points to ponder about this. Let's start here with the paragraph about about the fourth paragraph, the Signun Zeh. We started this a little bit yesterday, but we can review the last paragraph. It says there, Signun Zeh. Everyone has the place there. I'll show it to you on the screen. A little red glowing dot right there.
I got it.
Okay. Go ahead. Anyone would like to read for today to start things off?
I do. How's my volume? Is everybody can hear me?
Very loud. It's very loud.
Okay, great.
It sounds loud, yeah.
Yeah, I got a new speaker. I mean, a new microphone. All right. Uva signov ze kasha de vavis de vabes shnei v'chol zman ha tanaim. So this approach is difficult. That the the house.
The Veyeitzei in this time of the second temple.
Oh, the Veyeitzei, the second temple, and all the time of the Tanaim, Barov ha Tanaim, and the majority of the Tanaim, Hayu Mikadshin, they were holy.
They were Mikadshim, they would Mikadosh al Piyariya. They would inaugurate the new month through the sighting of the moon by the Adim.
Oh, they were sanctifying the new moon through witnesses.
Right. You see, that's one of the gezeras that the Greeks made against us, right? They were not supposed. We're always supposed to Mekadosh the Chodesh.
Right.
They didn't like that. The Greeks were into the idea, the concept that Teva has no relationship to man, right? But the Jewish attitude, the Torah attitude is Teva nature is subservient to man. Not that Teva is something independent and automatic. Teva is subservient to man. According to our needs and desires, that's what makes Teva.
Right.
What does it mean when they're subservient? We can't order them around. We can't control them. It seems that we're exposed to Teva, storms and floods and heat and all that. So what is it? I don't understand what it means by that. Teva is subservient to us.
That when we the month doesn't become new until the base din is Mekadosh the Levana.
Right.
The Levana has no independent power to become new or not, and the new month doesn't begin until the Sanhedrin approves of it.
Oh, so Teva doesn't only need nature? What's the definition of Teva? I thought Teva was nature, like, plants growing and, all that.
That depends on the context. The Gemara speaks about if they add an extra month, like this year we have an extra month of Adar, right? So it's known that by a girl, if the Basulim are damaged until she's 3 years old, the Basulim can regrow and repair themselves. Once she's after 3 years, they don't repair themselves. So the Gemara says that if Beis Din is Mechadish the Chodesh and is Ma'arba the Shana, so she'll actually get another 30 days worth of repair time, which she normally wouldn't have. So we see several examples where the nature is subservient to man.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what that.
So how does that work? She has until she's 3. So how does that get extended?
Because if they add an extra month, she gets the extra month as well.
Oh, and actually physically, her recovery is extended.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So you see that the question that's being asked now is that you see during the Veyeitzei, the second base of Mikdash, and in the Tanoim, Rove of the Tanoim, and many of them lived after the Korban Abayis. They were still being Makadosh al Pidariya. And the original teretz was that And Hanukkah, don't forget, was instituted during the Veyeitzei. That's a difficult teretz to say that they weren't Mekadosh up according to the Riyah. So the Chidah is having difficulty understanding that.
Riyah means the sighting.
Yes.
Okay, so V'osam Haimenu lo v'kiyinan b'kavua, and those among them that are not. What is b'kiyinan?
Right. V'lo b'kiyin b'kavua diyarcha, that ba'osu yomim, and during those days they weren't expert in fixing the month, meaning they didn't have the ability to fix the month according to the way previous generations did.
So Diyarcha is the month?
Yes, Diyarcha is the month.
The Tanan shaluchim yotzim al kislo. Kislev,
the month of
Kislev. So and we learned in the Brisa that the messengers that go out on the month of Kislev.
Actually, it's actually Mishnah, the Tanan in the Mishnah.
Oh, we learned in the Mishnah? Yes. We learned in the Mishnah that the messengers that go out on the month of Kislev, mipnei Chanukah, because of Chanukah, V'hayesh Lomar, we should say the takein to decree,
right?
Tet yamim, 9 days, misafek, because there's a doubt. B'makom, in a place shelo yad'o, that they don't know, mikadosh ha-chodesh, but they don't know when they sanctified the moon.
Right. So you see clearly that the shluchim, the messengers, would go out, and they were why were they going out? They were going out to inform everybody that the month was now inaugurated, sanctified based in Yerushalayim. And in those places, right, where they wouldn't know, they would certainly have to keep 9 days. No different than those places they didn't know about Pesach or Shavuos or Sukkot as well.
Really? Huh. But only in those specific places.
Yeah, well, that's what would be exactly. If they found out, they found out. There's no suffix. But if they didn't find out, it should be a doubt, and they should be strict.
In other words, one year it might be that they do 9 days, and next year they might do 8 days because they found out.
Yeah, if the roads were easy one year and they could get from Calcutta to Bombay without too much problem, and that extra day, so then they would know. But if one year was rainy and the roads were not really passable, let's say it was some kind of a war going on, right, some feud, and so they couldn't move, and therefore they wouldn't be able to get to Bombay. So if they got to Bombay, it wouldn't be a suffix. But if they didn't get to Bombay, they wouldn't know Bombay whether or not the Chodesh was Mekudash. And if it's a suffix, they would reasonably keep 9 days.
V'chein kasha, and therefore it's difficult.
Lamasha kasu, from that what was written.
From that which is written, and what's the next?
I think that's Harav Adono Abu Dram, the Rav Master Abu Dram.
What is written by the Rav Master Abu Dram, Bipurim, about Purim. V'zelomar, and this says, and this which is stated kasav in the written Baal Mishmeres Hamoados. That's a book,
right? So the Abu Dram wrote in the laws of Purim, V'zelashana, he wrote, quote, Kasev Baal Mishmeres Hamodos. It's written the Baal Mishmeres Hamodos.
Mipnei ma ein anu korim shnei yamim Megillah misafek, because of the fact that we do not read 2 days the Megillah because of a doubt.
Neymar, for what reason don't we? Neymar, for what reason don't we read the Megillah 2 days because of the suffix, because of the doubt?
So, in other words, the Avod Raham is asking this question.
He's quoting the Baal Mishmeres Hamodos who asked this question. The Baal Mishmeres Hamodos asked this question: why don't we keep 2 days Purim because of the suffix?
I'm confused. I thought,
but isn't there a difference between those periods of time that are in the Torah are different than the ones that we people established that are not in the Torah, like Hanukkah, Purim? It's a different category.
Yeah, true. But in what way? How is that going to make a substantial difference in terms of it being in a different category?
Because it's a different category. In other words, when Hashem says the 10th of the month should be Yom Kippur, right? That's what he said. There's no question about that. It's the 10th of the month,
right? Not
the 8th and 9th or the 9th and the 10th or whatever. It's the 10th of the month. So we're a partner to that by declaring when is Rosh Chodesh. We're a partner with Hashem to designate that particular day,
right?
But we're a partner. We don't decide that it's going to be the 10th. Hashem decides it's going to be the 10th forever, or forever long he wants. So we're a partner. We then determine Rosh Chodesh, and then we count to the 10th.
Right.
But when it comes to Hanukkah, there's no command from Hashem that we're partnering with. This is our own strictly human calculation.
Right.
So therefore we're not tied down to what does Hashem mean by the 10th?
Well, it's not a question of what it means by the 10th. Well, let's put it this way. Maybe maybe you didn't hear the maybe on Purim last year, Baron. Maybe you didn't hear the Megillah. Maybe you didn't hear the Megillah.
Maybe I didn't hear the Megillah.
Yeah, maybe you didn't hear the Megillah. Maybe the person who was reading it left out a word and you didn't notice.
Yeah.
So you should stop listening to this now. You should go get someone to read you the Megillah now, right?
Well, not necessarily, because there is a certain time that you're obligated to hear the Megillah, and if you miss,
exactly.
you miss.
Oh, exactly. There's a certain time. So even with Purim, there's a certain time when you're supposed to hear the Megillah. Correct. Exactly. But
that's midrabanan. That's not in partnership with Hashem. That's our own little tiny human, operation.
Right, I agree with you. But nevertheless, you have an obligation, correct?
Yeah, so we fulfill that obligation by saying, okay, here's the 8 days. There was an 8-day miracle, and we're going to have an 8-day, observance.
Right, but those 8 days are supposed to be on specific days. Right?
Yeah, but we already know, if we know that Hanukkah started on the 25th, if that's what was determined historically, that it started on the 25th, so we already know when the 25th is. We've been through all this with Rosh Chodesh and counting and witnesses and when the moon and the shmoon, and so we know when the 25th is. So that's it. 25th, we start counting 8 days. Shine.
Very good, but maybe you live in Bombay and you don't know what happened in Yerushalayim on Rosh Chodesh. You don't know. You're out there in Bombay, and you're after chakras, and you're waiting for these messengers to come, and they're usually here by now. And I don't know. You look outside, it's raining. You say, yeah, it's not so easy to travel in this weather. And you wait the next day, and it's still raining. You say, yeah, it's not so easy to travel in this weather. Waiting the next day, and they still don't come.
Right.
And so you don't know what happened in Yerushalayim if they were Mekadesh the Chodesh or not. So what are you supposed to do then?
Well, okay, but that decision is concerning Rosh Chodesh. It's not a problem with Hanukkah. It's a problem with Rosh Chodesh. So yeah, if you're living in if you're living way out there in Long Island or something, okay, so then you have to do the best you can. If you're living in a foreign country like Baltimore or something, Jewish community in Baltimore, so you have to do the best you can under the circumstances, or in Calcutta.
Right.
So I mean, there's a certain time when you got to move on, though. I mean, if it's raining for 3 days and they didn't come, so what happens? They show up a week later and they say, well, this is the day of Rosh Chodesh. So then what? They didn't daven Rosh Chodesh. They didn't say Hallel all that time they're waiting. Weren't they obligated to say, okay, they're not here. We got to make a decision and move on. We have a community here.
Right. Yeah. So that's exactly the question. The question is, maybe we got to make a decision. Maybe we should keep another day of Hanukkah.
But first, the problem is you have to settle Rosh Chodesh. Once you settle Rosh Chodesh, there is no problem with when Hanukkah starts.
Right, but it's either going to be one of 2 days, but you don't know if it was the early day or the later day, right? So if it was the early day, so you start on the 25th. So no problem, right? Because even if it was the later day, so on your 26th, you're still doing what you got to do on Hanukkah, right?
Well, if the people who are in Calcutta,
Yeah.
they don't they the Rabbanim who are teaching the community, if they basically know when Rosh Chodesh should be. I mean, they're looking up at the moon. I mean, they know themselves that it's happening on one day or the other, and they're not, and they don't get the messengers. So under the circumstances, don't they just say, okay, listen, we got to do what we got to do, and they're not showing up, and so we're saying now that this is we're going to daven. We're saying this is Rosh Chodesh, and we observe it, and then when the messages show up, if they're wrong by a day or so, they were wrong. I mean, so today is the 4th, not the 5th. Okay, good. Make the adjustment and move on. I mean, they're not going to sit around for 7 rainy days and not daven and not observe Rosh Chodesh, are they?
Right.
In Calcutta?
So what do you do? What do you do 8 days after the 25th of Kislev and the messengers haven't come yet? So now what are you going to do on that supposed last day of Hanukkah?
I'm sorry, I'm not following. I thought they were waiting for the messengers about Rosh Chodesh.
That's right, but that's going to affect them when they get the word when Rosh Chodesh is. Everything else will fit into place.
Right.
But if they don't come, take the case of Purim, right? Test Yud Daled Adar, right? It's the same suffix as Yud Daled Nisan and Yud Daled Tishrei. You don't know. If you live too far away, you happen to pick a wrong place to live. It's not a place for frum Jews. Don't live there. Move closer to Yerushalayim. So Passover you kept 2 days, right? And Shavuos kept 2 days, and Sukkot you kept 2 days. So why not Purim? Why don't you keep Purim 2 days?
Because it's not a tzivui from a Kadosh Baruch Hu.
Yeah, but
we have the primary.
I understand that would be very good, but that's not the teretz that the Abu Drum gave. The Abu Drum gave a different teretz. If you remember what he said, if you look back at the very top paragraph, right? It says here, it says the teretz. The teretz. You see the second line in the second paragraph and the first paragraph. Teretz. Mibneisha hagas sukkos minatoy revachamiru. Chazal al safakai. That since Sukkot is coming from, as you say, from Hashem, that's coming from a Kadosh Baruch Hu in His Torah. Hachmir, they restrict Chazal on the suffix, right? Lefi, no. Lefi she'ein anu bikin ata al yira, that we're not bikim on the rear. We can't determine the new moon, and therefore we have to keep 2 days Sukkot. Aval Hanukkah. Hayim Idivrehem, Haim, Amala so Shmeni Yemei Hanukkah, Haim Amru Cheshbon Moldos. But Hanukkah, they, meaning Chazal, the rabbis taught us and told us to keep 8 days of Hanukkah. The rabbis taught us to keep 8 days of Hanukkah. And they also told us to keep the Cheshbon of the Moldos. They also told us when the Rosh Chodesh is going to be. So everything's fine. Everything's fine. That there's no suffix. By Hanukkah, there's no suffix. They told you when to keep it and how to keep it. So there's no suffix.
There's been in the Gemara, I don't remember where it is, but we once learned in the Gemara about somewhere I learned that there was a Talmid Chacham who got an injury and he was unconscious for a long time, and when he woke up, he didn't know he didn't know what month it was, what day it was, so they told him.
Right.
In matter of fact, when he woke up, he thought it was Shabbos or something, or it was Shabbos, and he didn't know, he didn't think it was Shabbos. But anyway, but the point was when he came to, he had to know, he was told what the day was. And
Right.
once he said once they told him it's not Monday, it's Tuesday. So then he said, okay, it's Tuesday. Then he was counting. He started to count. So
Right.
it seems, I'm just saying that it seems that all the problems go away when we determine Rosh Chodesh. Once we determine Rosh Chodesh, the 8 days of Hanukkah just fit in. We're not sitting in Calcutta waiting for them to come and tell us when Hanukkah starts. We're waiting to hear Rosh Chodesh.
Right. That's basically the answer that the Abu Drum gave. They told us to keep 8 days, and they told us when the month begins. Right. They told us that the month begins on this day of Kislev for this year, and they also told us when how long Hanukkah is going to be. So it's not.
But they don't have to tell us. They don't have to tell us. Once they tell us when Rosh Chodesh is, we know how to count.
How did they know? How did they know when Rosh Chodesh is?
Either the Beis Din made an announcement, or the community themselves at a certain point have to make a decision.
You can't.
How about a person who's in prison, right? He's locked in solitary confinement. He's a frum guy. He's in solitary confinement, and he looks out the window. He has a little window, and he watches and he sees the best he can when Rosh Chodesh is. What's he going to do? He's not going to wait for a visitor to come and tell him when Rosh Chodesh is. He's got to make the best decision he can to fulfill the tzivui of Hashem for Rosh Chodesh. And then
that's not what he's saying here. Read the words. Read the words. Avo Hanukkah.
Yeah.
Avo Hanukkah. Shahayim midivreihem heim amru. It's based on the words of the rabbis, and they said you're supposed to keep it 8 days and only 8 days. 8 days and only 8 days. Mehem omo cheshbon moedos, and they told us when the Rosh Chodesh is going to be. They said, so that's it. So there's no suffix. There's no suffix here.
That's what I'm saying. There's no suffix.
Right, but it's okay. So now you're gonna, if you're gonna say that, right? You've got.
There's no suffix for when Hanukkah begins. There's no suffix for Hanukkah. That's what I'm saying.
That's right.
Yeah, so that's what that's what I've been saying all this time. So what it seems
that's not correct, Barry, that there's no suffix. There is a suffix because if the messenger doesn't come, you don't know when Rosh Chodesh was. Then you have a doubt.
But but the community has to make a decision.
No, they don't. They can't.
Well, what are they going to do? They
cannot make a decision. They can't determine when Rosh Chodesh is. Only the Sanhedrin can do that with witnesses in Jerusalem.
Okay, but if they're in Calcutta,
the Abu Drum did not say that as a terrorist. He said, and that's what the Hidor is asking. He's asking a question. According to the Abu Drum, everything is based on what the rabbis tell us. The rabbis told us that Hanukkah will be kept 8 days and only 8 days, right? Not 7 days and not 9 days. It's going to be kept 8 days. That's number one. And they also told us when the day of Rosh Chodesh is going to be. They already told us that because whatever they had, the calendar, whatever you want to say, why, we're not going to go into that right now. Right? They told us when the Rosh Chodesh is going to be. So once you have those 2 points, you can say definitively Hanukkah will be only 8 days, and that's it. Now,
right.
So you're saying they fixed the calendar before for Hanukkah before they fixed it for the other holidays?
Not necessarily so. He says that the moedos, that the time of the new moon was already established and taught to us and given to us. And therefore, there's in essence no There's no suffix here. There's no doubt as to whether there's
Right,
a new
right.
moon or not. We
Okay.
But for
know,
every other holiday, there's a doubt, but for Hanukkah, there's no doubt.
right? Well, that's going to be
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. There's no
That
doubt.
doesn't make any sense to me.
Why?
Because if you say that we know when Rosh Chodesh is, Rosh Chodesh Kislev, why don't we also know when Rosh Chodesh Nisan is?
Right.
We do.
No, we don't. If we did, we wouldn't have to have 2 days of Pesach.
But that's because of the far, the far out communities.
Well,
What
there's
they do when-
opportunities for Hanukkah also.
No, it's not, because once you get Rosh Chodesh settled, then by the 25th, it's a done deal.
No, it's not. If you're in Calcutta and the messengers don't get there by the 25th, then it's not a done deal.
They're not getting there by the 25th. They're getting there by the 1st or 2nd or 3rd.
No, they can't get to Calcutta in 1 or 2 or 3 days. Calcutta is very far away, and it's raining.
So what are they waiting? Then I'm not understanding this. If they're in Calcutta, right, and it's a 5-week trip or a 3-week trip or a month trip or who knows what. So what are they waiting for? Why are they waiting for? Why are they waiting for when Hanukkah is? They should be waiting for when Rosh Chodesh is.
They're not waiting for anything. They have to have 2 days because they don't know which day it was. Since the messengers take 5 weeks to get there, they're not going to arrive in time. Therefore, they know it's one of these 2 days. So therefore, they have to have 2 days that they celebrate, just like for Pesach and Shavuos and Sukkot.
Yeah, but you have to understand that that when you determine when Rosh Chodesh is, it's either the last day of the month or the first day of the month or just the first day of the month. So therefore, they know when day number 1 of the month is. The fact that they're observing 2 days doesn't mean they don't know when the first of the month is. They know when the first of the month is.
Okay, yeah.
So
you have to discriminate between what we do and what used to be. Okay, right? We have a fixed calendar, and really we keep the 2 days because in Chutz La'aretz there were certain places where the messengers would not arrive at in time for Pesach or Shavuos or so therefore they weren't sure when the new month was actually declared, and therefore, right, they had to keep the extra day, second day Yom Tov of Goliath, because of the doubt as to maybe the new month was delayed by a day, and what they really celebrated the first day was not the real day, and now the second day is really the real.
But the
day.
Isn't the shaila whether the new moon is on the last day of the month or the first day of the month?
That's the basis of the suffix. The suffix
Right.
is based on that, right? But
Right.
however,
But so then when they determine that when it's Rosh Chodesh, then it's the first of the month. Shine.
right, but whatever they do in Yerushalayim is one thing, but whatever they know in Calcutta is something different. They don't know what happened there.
But please tell me this: what do they do in Calcutta to determine Rosh Chodesh?
So that's the question was they should keep 9 days Hanukkah. The only way they're going to determine what they're supposed to do, the community decision is to keep 9 days. That's the only way they're going to solve their problem.
If they're in Calcutta, right? They have a community there, so it seems that they have to conduct themselves, to even if they're going to observe 2 days, still one of those 2 days of Rosh Chodesh is the first day of the month. They're not observing Rosh Chodesh on the first of the month and the second of the month. They're observing Rosh Chodesh on the last day of the month and the first day of the month. So they know when they or they're declaring or they're just assuming that when the first of the month is. Right? I mean, the first of the month is known.
How is it known? How is the first day
because
of the month?
Because when Rosh, even in the days when they were declaring, when Rosh Chodesh was, it was the last day of the month or the first day of the month. It was never first and second.
Right.
Okay. So they had to. Their announcement included that Tuesday was the first day of the month. That's or right. Whatever day it came out in the week.
Right.
That was part of the declaration. We knew when the first day was. There's no Shaila.
But sometimes they would declare the first day of the month to be one day early. Some days it would be one day late, depending on whether the moon was, whether the previous month was Molei or Chosr. Was it?
But they still, in their determinations, there still was designated a particular day that was day one of the month.
So according to the Mishnah, why does the Mishnah teach us that you have to send out messengers on Kislev? What were you sending out messages for? It wasn't an easy job. Would you like to be a messenger in those days? Would you like to leave your family here in Yerushalayim and take a month's trip to Calcutta and a month's trip to come back? Maybe if you don't get arrested along the way or get involved with some war or some pogrom or get bogged down in some quicksand along the way. Would you like to have that job, being a messenger?
Yeah. So okay, all right, fine. So why? So I don't know the answer. Why did they have to depend on messengers?
Because the Mishnah says they had to be able to tell them when to make Hanukkah. They had to be told when to make Hanukkah.
But why do we have 2 days? If we're relying on the messengers, then we should have only 1 day.
Well, that's very good for any place that the messengers could get to.
But we don't see that. We say everybody has to do 2 days.
What are you supposed to do when the messengers don't come? You're sitting there in Calcutta, right? You just finished your morning breakfast, and you're sitting there with the rest of your minion goers, and you're saying, well, he usually comes. The messenger usually is here by now. He's not coming today, and the next day he's not coming. The next day he's coming, and it's getting. I was just dusting off my menorah. I was just squeezing my olive oil and getting my wicks ready, and he's not coming. What are we going to do?
Well, I'm not understanding. These messengers are coming to tell the outlying communities in the suburbs when Rosh Chodesh was, or they're coming to announce when Hanukkah is?
No, they're coming to tell them when Rosh Chodesh was.
Okay, so if they're coming to tell them when Rosh Chodesh is, and they're in Calcutta, and they don't come, so what does the B'nai Calcutta do? Do they say, well, okay, they're not here, so we'll skip Rosh Chodesh. Next, okay? All right, we'll do the best we can. No, don't they make a determination so the community can move forward?
Well, what did they do on Yom Kippur? What did they do on Sukkot? They'll do the same thing that they did on Sukkot. What did they do on Sukkot?
Yeah, exactly. It all revolves around Rosh Chodesh.
Right. The Medrash says that Eliezer, Eved Abraham, when he went out with his camels, and he left Kiryat Arba or Beersheba, he was setting out to go on a 17-day trip. It was took 17 days to get to Padan Aram. From Eretz Yisrael, it would take 17 days to get to Padan Aram, right? So when did Lavan eat matzah? When did Lavan sit in his sukkah?
Lavan?
Yeah, Lavan. He didn't hear when Avram Avinu was machadish the chodesh. It would take 17 days to get to him.
Wait, well, Lavan wasn't observing anything. Why Lavan?
That's because he lived in Padan Aram. Okay.
Okay. But all right. Okay. I hear. Okay. Yeah.
Anyway, we'll have to stop here. I think maybe you're getting a picture of the questions to be asked over here. All right, getting a picture of what's going on. Okay, we'll take a break and we'll start the next year in a few moments. And I guess tomorrow 9:30, Bez Hashem, if you want something on the Parsha Hashavua, Bez Hashem.
Yeah. That's what that's what Sharansky did when he was in prison. He did the best he could to count, and then if you remember from his book, so at a certain point, when he determined that it was Pesach, he made a seder the best he could, and he poured water on the floor and he walked through it. It's true, true story. That's how, that he did the best he could. He was in solitary confinement. No messenger was coming to tell him when it was Pesach. So he did the best he can. And I'm sure that it counted in Shemayim.
When did he comment?
He didn't eat. I mean, he didn't have matzah. I mean, he didn't have matzah, but he certainly didn't eat bread. He lived on vegetables.
Oh, yeah. Okay. When did he keep Yom Kippur?
When he was keeping account, and at as best he could, and when he determined that this was the 10th, he fasted. That's all. Now, if it happened to be the 8th or the 7th or whatever, do you think he got credit for it? If he actually fasted on the 7th?
There's halachas. There's halachas in Hilchos Shabbos that the person gets lost in the midbar. When's he supposed to keep Shabbos? Well, maybe we'll learn those halachas sometime.
Yeah. But, so that's the point. He's lost in the forest. He doesn't know when Shabbos is. So he does the best he can. So that's what I'm saying. In Calcutta, they got to do the best they can.
Right.
And they do what do? They determine when Rosh Chodesh is the best they can, and then they move on.
No, that's not the way a Jew operates. A Jew does what the halacha says. He doesn't do the best he can. He does the correct thing according to the halacha.
But if you
tells him what to do.
If you're in prison, if you're Sharansky in prison, you can't do the halacha as it says because you don't know. You're stuck in solitary confinement. So
you always can do what the halacha says. You got to find out what does the halacha say that you do when you're in prison and you don't know.
But what's he going to do? Ask a Russian guard, when Shabbos?
So ask a rabbi, what do I do, Rabbi?
What rabbi? He didn't see anybody. He was in solitary confinement. He didn't see anybody. There's no rabbi to ask.
Well, then he has to ask himself based on his knowledge.
That's what he did. He did the best he could based on his information that he had.
No, not on his information, based on his knowledge of the halacha.
Yes, he based on the knowledge of his halacha. So, and if he was wrong, so what was he going to do?
If he dropped a knife and it hit his foot, does his foot get cut?
What does that mean? What's a physical problem have to do with the calendar calculations?
Because Hashem made the physical world the same way as he made the spiritual world. If you do the wrong thing, there's a consequence. It doesn't matter if you knew or you didn't know or you wanted to or you didn't want to.
You're telling me Sharansky did an Avera because he observed Shabbos on a Sunday? Because he didn't know he was wrong when he thought it was Shabbos?
Correct.
Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
So when he goes to Shemayim and he was Mesiris Nefesh in prison because he didn't see anybody or know anything, and he did the best calculations he could, and he was wrong, so he's going to get punished for it. He's going to Gehenna for that.
It depends on whether he followed the halacha or not. It doesn't matter whether he did the best he can. The question is, did he follow the halacha?
And so you're saying that if he fasted on the 9th, he made a mistake and bet on his best calculations, and he did it on the 9th or the 11th, it doesn't count for him. He doesn't get a reward in Shemayim for his Mesiris Nefesh.
Okay, I'll tell you, we can take this question up another time, Be'ez Hashem.
Okay.
As I said, this halachas and these questions are brought in the laws of Shabbos, the very end of the laws of Chelik Gimel Mishnah Berurah. If you want, we can explore those things as well.
Yeah. Did you say it's break time?
Yeah, it was break time.
Oh.
Bye-bye. Thank you very much.
So I hope to see you tomorrow.